where he'd go down and get in the lane ahead of the crowd, and Wilt was never, much of a post sprinter. He used to take his time. In fact, when he rebounded, a lot of times he'd make the guards come back to him to get the ball, so he'd be down there when the ball got to the other end of the court. I think that free throw shooting, big weakness on both spots. It really was.
Because we're both terrible foul shooters. But other than that, he plays an entirely different type of basketball game. He uses his physicality, and he's a big, strong young man, and that works well in today's game. If he was facing me and other guys of my time, not so good. I mean, I'm a guy bench pressing around 600 pounds when I was at my best.
600 pounds?
Yeah, right.
One night, we were in a playoffs against Philadelphia when he was still with Philadelphia, and they fouled out both Walt Bellamy and Willis Reed, and I ended up having to be the third center to go in and play Wilt a double overtime game. So it was one of those things. But the thing with Wilt is he took me up with him when he went up to shoot a shot. He was that strong. He was very strong. Thank you for your question.
First of all, you're never going to say who's the greatest of all time. To me, I think that's more for PR and more for selling stories and getting hype. Jack and Tiger never played against each other. They never played in the same tournament. They never played with the same equipment. They never played with the same, length of golf course. I never played against Wilt Chamberlain.
To say who is the greatest, we will never know that. I mean, in my eye, Wilt Chamberlain is the greatest basketball player.
To now say that, one's greater than the other is being a little bit, unfair.
Everybody always points to Michael and making all these changes or things, but Wilt Chamberlain was the first one that really made changes. He was the first dominant person of basketball.
How much impact did each change or evolve the game?
Let's talk about, Michael Jordan. I'm curious, Michael Jordan, say we had a time machine here. What if we could send Michael Jordan back to playing basketball with you in your prime?
When you see Michael Jordan, I'm a product of modern basketball, modern technology.
With all the technology we have today, they didn't have the ankles, the MRI, all the stuff we have now, they didn't have back then.
But all the great achievements comes from Oscar Robertson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, all the basketball players way before Michael Jordan. I just got the fruit of the labor, I guess. I learned so much from these guys watching them, and I've kind of gained more of the publicity and more of the notoriety because of me learning from what they have done years way before me.
A few months ago, they said, Michael, now don't be, shy and don't be this and don't be that. Are you the best basketball player that ever played? And Michael said, yes, I am.
We're at the NBA's all-time team celebration, Cleveland, 1997.
When they announced the top 50 players, right? Which you were on that list, right? When they announced them. I heard when they were bringing everybody up, at the end of the row
is Wilt and Michael Jordan. And they're sitting at a table arguing vociferously as to who the greatest player of all time was. And they're back and forth. And it's just intense as can be.
Jordan and Wilt were debating on who's the greatest. And Stern had to say, come on up here. They were going really at it. And one saying, I am. The other one saying, I am. They're going, but you couldn't do this. And my era, I did this. And I was doing this. And I changed again with this.
It bothers you when people talk about him as being the greatest player of all time.
Well, it bothers me because we all have our opinions.
I contend Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player who ever lived. I would put you number 2, only because you only won 2 championships. Now, people are going to say, well, you know what, he had a lot of stats and this and that. You won 2 world championships, okay?
I have a friend of mine who I talk to about once a week. You know what he says about Michael's 4 championships? He doesn't say anything about it. Because he has 11.
Bill Russell.
I don't think, you can predicate how great a guy really is or because he has championships. There's a lot of guys on those championship teams who've done nothing.
I won 6 championships. Bill Russell won 11. Does that make Bill Russell better than me and make me better than him? No, because we play at different eras. So when you try to equate who's the greatest of all time, It's an unfair parallel. It's an unfair choice.
Michael Jordan is one of those rare specimens that could have played at any particular time and is a gifted athlete who is using those gifts in basketball incredibly so. I think that almost every man in the NBA should give him 10% of their checks.
Now, what would his playing style, how would that have translated back then?
Well, his playing style is he's 6'7" and he's like 197 pounds. Coming into what we call our domain, the pivot for us big guys, would not have been very wise of Michael.
To me, there's no real debate, as far as I was concerned. I mean, we've had great players as far as, with Michael and, of course, LeBron. Everybody, Michael set a tone for the guys from the 80s up.
I know that basketball is a team game,
Right.
and you've already made Michael number one. But if you had to have Wilt against Michael,